Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RocketGirl Show. My name is Belinda Wasser, also known as RocketGirl. And for those of you who are watching us live, welcome. And for those of you who are checking the replay, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming. Either way, if you have any questions or any thoughts you'd like to share, please just put them in the comments box wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to circle around and get your questions answered. Today's episode of the RocketGirl Show is brought to you by the VA Connection. And for those of you who haven't heard of the VA Connection is a professional online community with the commitment to training and connecting virtual assistants all over the world. And we have quite a fabulous Facebook group that I'd like to invite you to join. You can find it two different ways. One is to type the Virtual Assistant Connection in the search bar at the top of Facebook. And the second is to follow this bit.ly link, bit.ly.vaconnection.com. Right now we have over 580 members. It's a very lively place. There's a lot of fun and lots of learning. So whether you are a seasoned virtual assistant like myself, or you're thinking about it, or just starting out, there are all kinds of videos and articles and information that I think you'll find very useful. And we'd love to have you. So please consider joining us. Today we're going to talk about avoiding the wrong clients. It's interesting because there's always a lot of talk and books written about identifying your ideal client and who they are and how to find them and where they spend time so that you can locate them. But today I want to talk about the opposite of that, because I think when we're getting hired by people, when we're letting people hire us, there are some red flags that you can see that can be a hint that they might not be the ideal client for you. So here's some of the red flags that I experience, and you might find that yours are different, and you might also be thinking, what is she talking about? But if you start to look at relationships with clients that are not your favorite, you'll probably start to see some trends. And so here are the trends and the things that I've noticed in the last 9 years. Number one is they lead the conversation asking how much something will cost. Before they get to know me, or they find out if I'm capable, or they find out if we like each other, they want to know, bottom line, how much it will cost. That generally is not the ideal client for me, and I would consider that a bad fit. Number two, they want to be convinced. I have had conversations with people who say, oh, I really should do this. Oh, it's probably a good idea. And I used to, because I was excited about the prospect of having a new client, or I thought I could really help them, I would try to convince them. Oh yeah, I can help you. Oh, this is going to be great. But what I've discovered is that when I have to convince someone once, it won't be the last time. I will be convincing them over and over and over. And typically I'll be pulling them through the relationship, which is not fun for anybody. Number three, if I don't feel like they're listening to me. So this is sort of like a date. Think about a first date. Everybody's hair is clean and they're being polite and they have their nice clothes on. And so think about a pre-client conversation in the same way. If they're speaking over me, they're not really hearing me, I need to correct things that they're repeating back that I've said. That's not a good sign. That's a sign, again, of a client that's not a good fit. Because in that moment of what I call best behavior, if they're not able to communicate with you well, it's only going to get worse from there, I promise. Number four, they are in an emergency. Now, absolutely, I have clients that from time to time find themselves in somewhat of an emergency situation. They forgot to do something, something broke, and I help them when that happens. However, an emergency can also be a state of being. And I think that there are people who can be in the state of emergency over and over and over. And I've certainly had clients like that. They come to me in an emergency and I think, oh my gosh, I really want to help them. I'm sure this is going to be great. And I'm sure they're not in an emergency all the time. And I have to say, usually they are. So if someone is in an emergency and they want you to twist yourself around to help them in a pinch, it's not a good way to start a relationship. In fact, one time I had an old client come back who had a lot of emergencies, and I let that slip my mind, and she came back and she said, please, 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 can you just help me? And I said, sure, as soon as you buy a debit card, I'll be happy to help you. And she never bought that debit card. And so that was kind of interesting, and it reinforced what I know is that people in emergencies are not my best clients. They're not a good client for me at all. The last one might sound a little strange, but after 9 years of trying this, I've discovered that number 5, if people don't work at a desk during their working hours, they're not a good fit for me. I've had clients who are real estate agents who, as you know, are in houses and cars, but rarely at their desk for long periods of time. I had one client who owned a delivery service, so he was in the car all the time. I had a client who installed flooring. And while they were all successful at what they did, it was impossible for me to have what I considered a successful relationship with them. So now the criteria for a good client for me is that they work at a desk. So a bad client is someone who, for me, doesn't work at a desk because I can't get their attention. And without their attention, I really can't get anything done for them. So let's just see if we have any questions. I'd love if you have a comment about what your red flags are. If you would post them, that would be interesting to see what other red flags are for people. So let me just look in the comments and see. I'm trying to think if there's any other red flags that I have. And on the flip side, it is also important, like all the books say, to figure out who your ideal client as well. But just to, jot these down, jot down your red flags, and feel free to start with mine. That's why I'm here to help everybody. But just think about what those red flags are. A good way to also come up with the red flags is think about relationships that didn't go well. And 9 times out of 10, if you think about those first few days or those initial conversations that you had with them, the red flag was right there. You just didn't see it, or maybe you didn't want to see it because you're excited about a new client. So someone's saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Okay, well, it doesn't look like we have any comments right now or questions, but please feel free to add them after the fact in the replay, and I promise I'll circle around and answer them for you on this pretty interesting topic of avoiding the wrong clients. I want to remind you again how much we'd love to have you in our Facebook group. We're over 580 members strong, and I would love to have you join us. So thank you for coming. Have a great rest of your day. I'm Belinda Wasser, Rocket Girl, signing off. Until next time. Bye-bye.